history of the world. Our founding fathers understood that what makes a country great, it isn't necessarily its land, it's not its wealth, but it's the people that reside within it. No time in history before them had there been a constitution or a legal document set forth to govern a nation that relied on the individual and personal freedom and personal responsibility. That is the ideology that made the United States great and continues to make it great. But as we go forward, we see that that's changing. We stand on the shoulders of giants, whether it be educators in the past, whether it be our forefathers, whether it be our veterans that fought and died for our great country, whether it be mothers or fathers that raised generations of great children, whether it be entrepreneurs that created jobs, whether it be the slaves that were freed and went on to become successful and do their own job to prove that if they were left alone, they too could succeed. Those ideas of personal freedom and personal responsibility and the great ancestors we have before us have made us what we are today. We don't want to be the generation that lets that slide. Today we see that it's been going on for decades, that normal Americans and their personal freedom and responsibility has slowly eroded away. This is because all of our cultural institutions of power are dominated by the establishment, and particularly an establishment leftist ideology. This means that things like hard work and personal responsibility have been replaced with things such as victimhood and claiming that you're perpetually a victim and that's somehow worth something. A normal American works 9 to 5 and they just want to be left alone by the government. I've grown up in rural Pennsylvania my whole life. The people that I respect, the people I think are the salt of this country, are blue-collar workers that I see every day, my family and friends. Whether they be truck drivers, welders, they hunt for recreation and for a livelihood. Whether it be carpenters, whether it be educators or people in the service industry. These people just want to go to work, provide for their family, have a good life, and be left alone. Where is their voice? They've been drowned out amongst a chorus of the establishment left that controls all of our cultural institutions of power that shape the public narrative. Whether it be the mainstream media, which comes almost 95% from the establishment leftist perspective. The same is true of academia. The same is true of our entertainment industry in Hollywood. And you could also say that of the people that control Silicon Valley and many of these social media corporations. Imagine it. You work 9 to 5, you come home, want to relax, you turn on your local news. All of the information you get is from this establishment leftist perspective. So you turn the news off and maybe you get ready for your night class that you're taking. That academia is almost entirely coming from that establishment leftist perspective. So you say, you know what, I just want to forget about it all and tune on some television, something entertaining. So you turn on a late night comedy show. All of it's dominated by the exact same ideology, this establishment leftist perspective. So then maybe you go onto Facebook or Twitter or YouTube in order to talk to people that maybe share your life experience. But again, those are all ran by organizations and companies that come from that same establishment leftist perspective. And make no mistake about it, this isn't the leftist that's my friend or my neighbor that I'm talking about. These are oligarchs. These are people in the establishment, the deep state, or whatever you want to call it, that are really the movers and shakers and control the direction of our country. They don't care about normal Americans. The idea that it's left versus right, sure, there are things we disagree on, and I'm honest in this channel that I'm coming from the right. But I welcome my friends from the left that understand also that this corruption in the establishment needs to be fought. Until we fight back against this corruption, it doesn't matter if we're Democrats, Republicans, none of it will matter. Because the people that really control this country don't care about me and yours voice. The election of Donald Trump was the first time in my life that we see the possibility of outing the corruption of this establishment. And yet, and despite this, we see that the establishment is laughing. They think that they're still winning. People like James Comey that ran the FBI as a personal mercenary squad for the Democrats and Barack Obama laugh as they escape indictment after indictment, even as their crimes are made public for all to see. The media covers for them and celebrates this corruption. Academia and the entertainment industry in Silicon Valley go along with this. Where are the voices for normal Americans? But there is good news. There are people that are rising up. There are people that are running for office. There are people that are doing independent channels. There are people waking up by the millions that understand how corrupt this system is. Just the Iowa caucus starts to show many people on the left that didn't want to see it, how corrupt the DNC and the establishment is. We should be reaching out and talking to all these people and making allies to fight back against this corruption. My channel is about being a voice for normal Americans, whether you're a blue-collar worker in rural Pennsylvania that's been maligned as clinging to your guns and Bible, that's been called a racist deplorable, Or maybe you're in the inner city and you grew up in a single parent household and you've been told you're a victim your whole life and you're just trying to succeed, but everything tells you, no, you're a victim. Don't try to go out and have personal responsibility and achieve on your own. Or anyone in between. This is a show for you. We are here to discuss the issues of normal Americans, to bring truth to everyday people that it's been hidden from by the oligarchs that really control our country and the establishment. They need to control the flow of information and all of those cultural institutions of power that I mentioned in order to make sure that they could pass their agenda, because they know the secret. If the normal person, if the average American were to find out how corrupt this was, they wouldn't stand for it. The way we win this battle is by bringing information to the millions and millions of Americans that have been lied to, that through the sweat of their labor, through their hard work, have enriched corrupt politicians, have enriched corrupt people in the media and other corrupt people that aren't elected to office like these bureaucrats, that have outsourced our wealth to other countries to further enrich the politicians that send that wealth over there. If the average and normal American wakes up to this, we can begin taking back our country. The war will be fought with information. That is what my channel and so many of the channels I'm associated are trying to do. That's what we're trying to do today. So please, I encourage you, follow my channel, support it, follow other independent content creators, follow the people that I'm connected to, and even if you're on the left, follow independent content creators on the left. But take away this gatekeeping power of the establishment to control all flow of information. Real people with facts and truth on their side do not hide from the First Amendment. We don't hide from open speech and open debate. We'll bring diverse opinions on. We'll bring people that disagree because we understand that we're about the flow of information and allowing everyone to make up their own mind. We do not need to censor voices like the establishment. So I welcome to my channel, the Normal America channel, and I hope that you'll enjoy yourself. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good one. Hello all. Let me make sure my audio is working. Great to be here. Great Patriot panel today. Thank you anyone who came over from there. Thank you to all my friends that I see a lot. So yeah, we're gonna have a good show tonight. Talk about what we talked about in the panel. If you're new, what I do here on Mondays is after the Patriot panel, I like to just do a rundown. The panel's great. I love it, but I'm so long-winded every topic. It's like I got hours worth of stuff to say. So yeah. I like to just kind of talk about what happened there and give my own perspective on it. This way I'm not stepping on anyone's toes either. So, yeah, great show tonight. I saw Woodman's in the YouTube chat right now. He was one of the panelists. It was my honor to finally get to do a show with him. He works with Mike on the Patriot Hour a lot. They have a great channel. You should check it out over there at the Patriot Hour. It's really great. I really like talking to them. Hopefully I'll be doing that show soon. And Sarah that I did the interview with the other day, she was on there, Sarah Corrier. Awesome as well. My friends SJG and Doug, which I work with a lot, they were both there. McInnes wasn't able to make it, but he's good too. You should check him out. He has a great channel. So for those of you, if you're new, what I'm going to do is I'll talk to you all a little, and then I'm going to start getting to the meat of what's going on. I'll start recording because I also do a podcast. So right now this is just live. I'm not recording the podcast portion of it, but I'll do the podcast portion, and then I'll end the podcast and talk to you all at the end of it. So that's the plan. Am I still playing games live on YouTube? Someone on D Live wants to know, Tigger. Once in a while. I've just been so busy. My work schedule's crazy. So I'm trying to be the hardest working content creator on the internet. I work 80 plus hours a week at my job. Like, I'm at work today. I got off 30 seconds before the panel was able to get on. So I'm trying to put out a bunch of content. I got a meeting tomorrow with the representative from Trump's team on how to get out the vote and things like mail-in ballot access in Pennsylvania. This is the first year that we could do mail-in ballots. So I'm going to be working on the ground and on my channel to try to make sure that we win in 2020. Preacher's a new guy here. He wants to know what this is about. Well, I think I'm a very handsome man who's articulate, that has a lot of good points. And then I have fans, like, I won't mention any names, that, bug me all the time. Preacher. Nah, I'm just kidding. Preacher's one of the best people on here. Thank you to Kenneth, who's generously financially supported me here this past week. Thank you to Preacher. Thank you to Dib Siverak, to Milo, to Killer Kyle. to Jay that are on my Patreons. I have 5 Patreons, and thank you to everyone else who's donated me financially or just stuck it out with me as I ramble on and on every night and kind of recommended me some other people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the podcast right now, and we're going to get to the meat of things. So it'll sound like it's like, what's this guy starting another show? Trust me. Oh, and just so you know, if you want to follow me on Spotify or on iTunes, just look up Normal America. I'm on there. So away we go. Hey, welcome to another Normal America podcast. So this is 3/9/20, and it was right after the Patriot Super Panel. So the Patriot Panel post-show. Talk about alliteration. Things are always good with alliteration. So what I'm going to do is talk about what we discussed today on the panel and just give my deeper thoughts on it. So the first thing we talked about was, again, the coronavirus. Now, it might sound like we're talking about this a lot. It's kind of a big story right now, so I think it's worth talking about. So there's several angles that I didn't talk about in the panel that I wanted to get to, and I can't take credit for all of this. A lot of it comes from Tucker Carlson's show that I watched the other day. Now, look, people can say what they want about not liking the mainstream media, not liking Tucker, whatever. I like Tucker. I think he has good stuff. I think that I haven't seen him kind of curb his speech because the corporate masters at his channel demand that he does so. He's gone after Trump when it came to like the Syria bombing. He's talked about the need for places like Amazon to pay more taxes. He supported some of Elizabeth Warren's rhetoric on businesses getting out of control and not paying their fair share in taxes. He supported people like Julian Assange that I support. So he's certainly not been afraid to give his opinions. And I like Tucker for that, even if I don't agree with him on everything. Tucker talked about something that I briefly hit on the panel tonight, and that is our government and the people that we elect to represent us. And make no mistake, this is the establishment Democrat and people in the establishment Republican Party. They have taken what made this country great, and that was the ingenuity, the work efforts, the labor of blue-collar Americans. Not just blue-collar, but particularly blue-collar. Of the middle class, of the manufacturing industry, of people that work with their hands, the people that I talk about what my show's for. And again, my show's for everyone. It really is. I try to talk to people of all different perspectives. I just did a debate with the guy Bill Bailey the other day, someone who's a never-Trumper. So I try to bring people on of all different perspectives. I welcome all. I really do. I like disagreements. I like civil discussion. But what inspired me to run for Congress and what inspired me to start a channel was that I grew up in rural Pennsylvania. I'm not good at all that blue-collar stuff, but everyone that I love, all of my friends and family are. And I wondered, where are their voices? They're fantastic Americans that make this country go. Where are their voices? Well, one of the things that not having a voice for those groups has led to is we've seen the decline of the manufacturing sector. We've seen the decline of middle America, of these normal Americans' finances over 5 decades now. Wages have been pretty stagnant. And again, this has come Republican administrations, Democrat administrations, etc. We give insane amounts of money out. The amount of taxes that go to the federal government is insane. Yet most of that we don't see returned to our communities. And this is true if you're in rural America. It's true if you're in the inner city or anywhere in between. That money is used to enrich corrupt politicians, and it's used to enrich their allies in other countries, places like China. So we sold out under the auspices of things like free trade or helping other countries, all of our manufacturing sector going to China. We knew that they were screwing us over financially, they were screwing us over by manipulating their markets, and that they were getting huge returns. Now, yes, a lot of the wealthy don't care about this. They get cheap goods, or what do they care? Look at the system that you see that's now been proven in the Ukraine. This happens all over the place, and it's even worse in China. And that is where politicians in the United States vote to send aid or other monies to a foreign government like the Ukraine. Then the Ukrainian government takes those billions of dollars and they kick back the money by hiring politicians' family members or donating to their foundations. Thereby, your tax dollars get sent to another country. Then that money's washed and sent back to the families or the charities of the very politicians that voted to send your tax dollars. That's just one small example of what's happened. Now, what Tucker talks about specifically is we've basically outsourced all of the things we need for our medical industry to China. So all of our antibiotics, all of our things like simple things like masks to prevent infection, prevent the spread of diseases, things like the parts we need for technology that we use in our hospitals. All of this has been outsourced to China. To now, they're our biggest geopolitical rival, and we are totally dependent upon them if there's a pandemic. Now, in what sense would it make for a government to give their biggest rival total control over such an important part of our society. It makes no sense. And people could see the writing on the wall for decades now. But our politicians didn't care. They kept saying, oh, no, we have to welcome China into the World Trade Organization. Oh, no, we need to allow these things. Who's the one politician that spoke up about this? Donald Trump. Remember, he put tariffs on China that every single Democrat running for president in the debates said were inhumane. These tariffs were terrible. See, they want total unfettered access to China. That's what they want. Well, we see what one of the possible repercussions are. Not only was the spread of the disease made far more significant because of China and because Schumer and others wouldn't leave Trump stop travel to and from China. They said it was racist. Remember that? But now we rely on China for the things that now that the pandemic's here, or I don't know if it's a pandemic yet, in the United States at least, but now that the virus is here, the things we would need to fight it, we have to deal with China to get. Now again, one of the things I said on the panel is sometimes I think we get bogged down in trying to prove that things are, intentionally done. Anytime there's a mass shooter, there'll be people that say, wait, the deep state orchestrated this mass shooting. That's fine. It's not my cup of tea, but if people talk like that, so be it. I don't have to prove any of that. All I have to prove is whether they set it up or whether it just happens organically, they use it to their advantage. The same is true of the government of China. Do you not think that right now they realize, wow, we kind of got the U.S. right where we want them. We got them around the throat, don't we? Geez, if a pandemic hit the U.S., they'd be totally at our mercy. How have we let ourselves get here? Remember, all we hear about is, Russia. They're a pittance compared to China. China, just look at how China's, it might be easier. You're wondering about the manufacturing sector or the medical field particularly? Let's take a field that's just easier to understand because it's more out in the open. In Hollywood. Hollywood bows down to China constantly. It's the same with sporting. NBA is probably the easiest example. Now the NBA, because they know that it's woke and it's the popular thing to do, they'll criticize the United States left and right. They criticize our Second Amendment. They criticize the idea of the First Amendment allowing hate speech. They criticize Donald Trump. They call all of our police officers racist. This is basically the policy of the big voices of the NBA. Your Steve Kerrs, your LeBron James, your Greg Popoviches, etc. But when it came to actual police brutality, actual authoritarian regimes like that in China, all of a sudden they were silent. Oh, we don't know enough about that. Sorry, that's not our area of expertise. Well, then when you realize the billions of dollars of contracts, both through athletic shoes and sneakers and through just the NBA contracts that they have with China, oh, now it makes sense. And so LeBron James, one of the wealthiest men in the history of the world, is willing to sell out all of his integrity that he tried to claim by saying the U.S. police are authoritarian, they're racist. He sells all of it out for a few more pennies. Isn't that great? This isn't some guy that you could forgive because he was starving on the side of the road. Maybe if you're a rookie in the NBA, sure, you're just trying to make your bones. I get it. Not the greatest thing, but I get it. You're just trying to make money for your family. No problem. What's LeBron James' excuse? What's Steve Kerr or Greg Popovich's excuse? Now, you can see how our country has bowed down. Some of the wealthiest, most powerful people in our country in the context of the NBA, same true of Hollywood, how they've bowed down to China. Now, take that and use the medical industry. Use manufacturing. The amount of jobs that have fled, the amount of our medical equipment that we need that's now made in China, the amount of medicine that we need, simple medicine, like penicillin, antibiotics, pain medicine, that's now made in China. Not only can China then illegally ship fentanyl over and help cause an opioid crisis, but they also control the medication that we need that could prove very useful. And that was done by establishment people in both parties. How did that benefit any American that you know? It only benefited a few elite that got incredibly rich off of it. That's it. But that's the position we've put ourselves in. Now, our government and people on Capitol Hill, they're freaked out because a couple of Russians that now we can't even prove were actually even connected to the Russian government put ads on Facebook and Pokemon Go. That was a scandal that required people going on Capitol Hill. We have to censor fake news. But hardly a peep about this, what's going on with China. We know that China's infiltrated our academic systems. They give millions upon billions of dollars to certain universities. We then see like the gentleman at Harvard that got arrested for shipping secrets, government contracts, research that was going on at Harvard. I believe it was Harvard, shipping that back to China illegally. We know that they're indoctrinating students about the damages of the United States. Look, this is the way to bring the United States down. They can't beat us militaristically right now, particularly with the Second Amendment. But what you do is you take down the country from the inside. You buy the corrupt politicians. You infiltrate academia. You infiltrate the media. You infiltrate the entertainment sector. You infiltrate Silicon Valley. That's exactly what they're doing. You heard Sarah make the point in the panel excellently that the World Health Organization, that's supposed to be the premier organization for dealing with these diseases, is currently claiming China did a fantastic job of containing the coronavirus. How insane is that? That's what we see going on. That's what we've allowed to get to this point. Now, does this mean that, there's nothing we can do? No, of course not. Does that mean that, then that proves that Trump had a perfect response? No, I'm not saying any of that. Look, you criticize if you want, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know exactly what Trump should have did or that he did things perfect or there weren't missteps. I don't know. I know Trump's heart was in the right place in 2016 when he ran. I know that he tried to tariff China to end some of these unfair trade practices, and all of the Democrats said no. I know that he wanted to stop flow of people to and from China, and the Democrats said no, that's racist. I know he wanted to shore up the border, and the Democrats said that's racist. And I know all of those things have made the situation worse. Now, I'm not trying to politicize, though. I only make these comments because this is exactly what the entire mainstream media, academia, entertainment industry, Silicon Valley, and Democrat Party are doing to Trump right now. It's all Trump's fault. And as I said in the panel tonight, remember, before there was one death in the United States, before even one death, the New York Times wrote a piece calling it the Trump virus. It's palpable. You can see. Not everyone, not the Democrat on the street. And please, let's remember to separate the two. The person I know that's my neighbor that's a Democrat, they don't want anyone to die from the coronavirus. But it's clear that the establishment class, they hope they can spread this fear far and wide. They're chomping at the bit. Just like when Bill Maher said, I hope there's a recession. It don't matter to him. It don't matter to the wealthy elite. They'll have access to the best affordable, or to the best health care. It'll be regular folks like me and you, if the pandemic gets terrible, that'll suffer the most. It'll be young people and the elderly and people with compromised immune systems. But we're more likely to know those people or be those people. So it's just utterly despicable. And the other thing, the first point I made, the very first video I did in the coronavirus, which is, isn't it a shame that we can't trust our media and, in a certain sense, our government? Do you trust the executive agencies? I don't trust the FBI. I don't trust the CIA. I don't trust the IRS. I don't trust the EPA. So why do I trust the CDC? I don't trust our media for anything. They'll lie to us about everything to cause panic, to try to make it look like everything's Trump's fault. Now look, I'm not going to sit here, and if you watch my show a lot, I eat crow a lot. I said Elizabeth Warren would be the nominee. Wrong. So I'm not claiming to make perfect predictions. But one of the things I predicted that I believe this is being used for, I said, I've been saying it's been one of my themes for the past 3 months. Let's not get too comfortable saying the Republicans and Trump are going to wipe out the Democrats in 2020. Yes, the Democrats are that horrible. Yes, momentum seemed to be in the Republicans and Trump's favor. But they're incredibly corrupt. And I said they will do things like try to intentionally crash the economy. They'll bring up all sorts of scandals. They'll say women will come forth and say Trump assaulted them at the last minute. You'll see, whistleblowers coming out saying Trump said this or that in a phone call. Whatever. They'll pull out all the stops. But I said specifically they'll crash the economy. I said they'll use the Federal Reserve to try to accomplish that. Now, what's happening with the coronavirus? I didn't predict a virus would be the cause of that. I did not. I'm not going to claim that. But again, what I said, I don't have to prove that somehow, and I don't believe this. I don't believe that the Democrats talked with the government of China and started a pandemic in China that would then gradually come to the United States. I don't believe that. My gut feeling is China probably didn't even intentionally weaponize this. Well, they weaponized it, but they didn't intentionally let it go. They probably were messing around with biological weapons and it got out. It was a World Health Organization facility that it got out of, which might explain the World Health Organization's reticence to criticize China for the reaction to it. Instead, the World Health Organization, which has done, next to nothing? They're releasing pamphlets right now about, don't you be racist, don't you say that this is somehow China's fault. Yeah, because that's the real harm right now. How about we worry about the racism thing later? Now, if you're beating people on the streets, yes, we call that person out if you're beating them for racial reasons. But otherwise, let's solve the disease and then have these high-minded philosophical conversations later. How about that, World Health Organization? It's unreal. But that's where we are. Do you trust the media to tell you the truth? And again, the last thing I'll say about this is, I'm not a prepper or something like that. I have reasonable preparations for stuff. But I'm not an expert on it. There's other people you could go to for that. But also I'll say is this. If you're relying on the government to protect you or your family from things like this, a pandemic, a natural disaster, or something like that, you're making a huge mistake. Whether it be through outright corruption or incompetence, I wouldn't want to rely on them. And it's probably a reason you wouldn't want to rely on them for, your healthcare services. Oh, it's not the last thing, because here's another point that I thought of that I wanted to bring up that I haven't really heard anyone talking about. If you look at all the fear-mongering, now, how much of it's legitimate, I don't know. It seems to me that there is at least a newsworthy story of the coronavirus. Now, I know people say yes, but more people die of the flu and other illnesses, diabetes, for example. I agree. But it seems worth mentioning. I will say that. So I don't fault our corrupt propagandist media for mentioning the coronavirus, but the way they're giddily fear-mongering is a huge mistake. Well, not a mistake, it's intentional, but it's hugely corrupt and terrible. Not good for the country. But one of the things they're saying, there is a ring of truth to this. And that is, well, if they fear-monger so much, there's a chance we could run out of hospital beds. And Tucker talked about this in his show too. It's not necessarily people that have the coronavirus or fear that they have symptoms associated with the coronavirus that are going to be the most troubling people affected by this. Let's say you have pancreatitis. Well, if all the beds are filled up with everyone who gets a sniffle and thinks, I have coronavirus, all of a sudden you can't get access to the life-saving surgery that you otherwise would have needed and would have been available. Now that might seem like fear-mongering, but hear me out. What do you think's going to happen when we say Medicare for all, even illegal immigrants? The problem that no one wants to deal with that says healthcare should be available for everyone is that it's a problem of scarcity. Even if we all have big hearts, even if Mike Bloomberg and Bill Gates and whoever were like, you know what, we're just going to start a charity. Everyone that you know that needs healthcare, we'll pay for it. Don't worry about Medicare for all. Even in that world, there's still a problem with scarcity. And that sucks. Yes, I'm with you. I'm with the bleeding hearts. I wish that everyone was healthy and we had enough healthcare for everyone and that it was as cheap as possible and everyone had a healthy diet and everyone had a home and everyone found love. Yes, of course, I wish that. But I'm also a realist and I know that things like that aren't possible. So inevitably, people will fall through the cracks. It's our job to try to do the greatest good for the greatest number of people. That's what our government should be doing. It should focus on U.S. citizens, not on poor people in the rest of the world. I'm sorry, it's tragic there are poor people in the rest of the world. But there's two reasons that we should focus on U.S. citizens first, our government. One, because that's what its job is. Just like your job as a parent in your household is to focus on your children, not the neighbor's children. That's what our government's job is. And second, all we do when our government goes out and tries to help the poor of the world, it harms the poor in this country or harms the people that need the government's help in this country, and it ends up building corruption and animosity towards the United States and the very groups around the world that we claim to be trying to help. How many times do we hear stories that we send aid to Nicaragua or something, and then some corrupt warlord in Nicaragua takes all that aid we sent and uses it to build some sort of military that they use to oppress the people? How about we just focus on our own, right? But even that, with just focusing on our own, there's a problem of scarcity. So what can we do to incentivize more people get into the medical field? What can we do to incentivize more production of things like antibiotics and pain medication in the United States? Those are the things we should be looking at. Medicare for All would do the exact opposite. It takes out profit incentive. Look, we know the socialists claim to be against greed. Well, sometimes greed is good. And Milton Friedman, an economist I listened to, he said, I saw this interview he did with Phil Donahue the other day. It said, why is it that we only talk about greed in the context of when someone's trying to make a product or make some sort of service that other people could use and profiting from it? Why would we replace economic greed with the political greed of people like Bernie Sanders? You don't think he's greedy? You don't think he wants power? Why is it acceptable for him to want to consolidate power, but not the person who makes a life-saving medication to want to consolidate wealth because of that medication? Can it go too far? Absolutely. But we need to stop acting like everything should be free, and Bernie Sanders says the coronavirus will be free. You think our top scientists are now working on the coronavirus then? Wait, so the government should, if I develop this virus cure, they're just going to take it from me and I get nothing from my work? I'll work on curing diabetes. I'll work on curing asthma then. I'm still doing good for the world, but I should profit off my works. When you have these socialist type systems, you destroy innovation. That's why these other small countries that have socialized medicine, why it could work. One, because they're small and they have homogenous populations that are all generally working towards the same goal. And second, because all of the real innovation is occurring in places where socialized medicine doesn't exist. So they could just piggyback off that innovation, use those innovations. But they're not coming up with the innovations themselves. So ask yourself, the problems that we see, and again, I'm not saying Trump did everything perfect. I don't know. And I don't want to politicize it. But people are going after Ben Shapiro. Well, Trump, you should just leave Pence handle it. Stop tweeting back. This is what people like Shapiro always say. Hey, Trump, you should just be constantly smeared by the media and by the Democrats. You should accept that there will be constant wiretapping of your campaign and you and your team and constant investigations into you constantly, and you shouldn't tweet back. Just let them run their course. Shut up, Ben. It's time to go on the offense. And Trump's right. Trump's one of the best people at it. He is going on the offense. And we as Trump supporters should go on the offense. And the cowards in the Republican Party that aren't on the offense right now need to go on the offense. I'm tired of it. Now, what does that mean? What does go on the offense mean? Does that mean that we're out there shouting at people, doing what some of the Bernie bros are doing, shouting at people with bullhorns? No. Stop letting them call you a racist because you wanted to stop immigration or stop the flow of people because of the Wuhan virus. Let them call you racist because you want border control to prevent things like these pandemics. Enough's enough. Stop letting them politicize this. But if we're going to talk about the political ramifications, which they started, which system, which group of ideas seems more likely to spread any pandemic, let alone the coronavirus? One that says we want strict controls over our immigration. We want to make sure that illegals can't get in here. We want to make sure that we can stop the flow of people if we think there's a dangerous situation, whether it be terrorism or pandemic. We want to make sure that we bring manufacturing back to our country. We want to make sure that we have a system that provides for the best innovation in the medical field. Or is it the system that says we want people defecating in the street, sharing hypodermic needles? We want basically open borders. We want to say that even criticizing where the virus came from is racist. Which system do you think would spread a disease more? Which set of ideas do you think would spread it more? Does that mean that Trump did everything perfect or his team? No. But I keep hearing people say how he did so terrible. Okay, what was your solution? What would you have done? We already saw you said, well, you can't shut the border. You can't do that. You can't stop people going to and from China. You can't do that. If Trump doesn't leave someone on a cruise ship in, well, then he's a monster who's leaving these people on the cruise ship that's infected just sit out in the ocean. But if he does leave them in, well, what was Trump thinking? The only thing they can seem to say is Trump shouldn't be having rallies anymore. Of course you would want to end that. So, I mean, that's it. You know, hey, if there's a left-wing person that's watching right now or someone who dislikes Trump and has credible things that Trump should have done better, I'm willing to listen. I am. But I asked people, I'm like, okay, what exactly should he have done? Well, the person he appointed didn't have experience. Okay, so? Has that person done a good job or not? I don't know. You didn't care when Obama appointed people that didn't seem to have experience in the medical field. No one seemed to care then. Did the guy do a good job or not? That's all that matters, right? If you could prove to me that this guy did a terrible job and the reason was he didn't have a medical background, fair enough. I'm willing to listen to that. But no one says that. They just scream. They called it the Trump virus before one person died in the United States. So, that's my take on the coronavirus and what's going on with that. The second topic that we covered, which I'll talk about, which is the idea that Doug Ducote himself is apparently his email accounts has been hacked. Law enforcement's contacted him because the people that have hacked his email have, sent out threats to different government agencies, and I guess they've sent threatening messages to even some of us that do the show with Doug. I can't speak to the specifics of it, and nor do I want to, because it's not my place to speak on behalf of Doug. But I'll speak in the general on this. My takeaway is that in some ways this has been incentive. I don't blame Maxine Waters, per se, for this individual and what they did to Doug. But this radical kind of, it's okay by any means necessary mentality has been festering for quite a long time. Now, I talk about this a lot, and I did mention it in the panel today. It seems like the Republicans, and I'm speaking in generalities here. So, yes, if you're listening on the left, you could say, but this specific Republican or this specific Democrat, I get that. It's certainly not universal. But it seems that Republicans, at least at the non-establishment level, have been focused on winning the next election or elections. Whereas the establishment left, the establishment Democrats have been focused on winning the war. And they realize, as Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream of culture. And so if they win the cultural warfare, then they win. And it's true. And the first and easiest place to see where they've won, or they are winning, is academia. It's not just universities, although it's certainly universities. It's K through 12. The idea of being ashamed of the United States, not having pride in it, constantly bashing it, constantly pushing these kind of ridiculous principles. I mean, from everything. I mean, look up, this person isn't a Trump supporter, Christina Hoff Sommers. She calls herself the factual feminist. But look her up. She does excellent work on studies they've done with the feminization of boys in early as preschool, in kindergarten, where they use women as the standards. And so things that, I'm 35, but, my age, probably even people older than me. It used to be, rough and tumble kindergarten, rough and tumble elementary school recess. That's normal. That's boys. Now, if they go too far, of course, you punish. You make sure they don't go too far. But competition, rough and tumble behavior, that's normal boy behavior. Now, we give those boys pills. Now, we punish them by giving them detention or harm their grades. That's just one small example. But this indoctrination started early with many kids nowadays. That's why you see so many young people that think that socialism's a good idea or that communism's a good idea. And it's certainly, just look up the video I did on Caitlin Bennett at Ohio University. Certainly this is true in academia, in universities as well. Stop giving money to these corrupt universities. Stop. Not every university, but if you have a university where a mob chases a conservative speaker off of public property because it was a public university, state-funded university, so our tax dollars go to this university, then that university allows a mob to chase people off with political beliefs that they don't like. The police stand around and let it happen. And then, and this is the crucial point, the police release a statement that says, yes, we basically back the actions of the mob. They should no longer get funding. My tax dollars should not have to go to propagandist outlets that teach people to hate me. Period. Do you think if there was a university, like everyone says, Liberty University, it's a Christian university. Do you think if Liberty University started mobbing liberals, had a riot if someone like Jesse Jackson came to speech, do you think that people would be cool with federal tax dollars going to Liberty University? You think they'd be cool with it? But if Ann Coulter or Milo Yiannopoulos or even Christina Hoff Sommers or Charles Murray insert any voice that seems conservative, even if they're not conservative, gets mobbed and censored. No problem. Ben Shapiro, right? No problem. Stop funding this communism. Stop funding the hatred of the United States. It's absurd. By the way, you know who else is funding it? China. End the Fed, someone says. Yes, of course, end the Fed. We can talk on that for hours. So why are we giving it? But it's not just academia, right? That's not what culture's all about. What about the entertainment industry? You can't turn on a late night comedy show without hearing one singular perspective. Trump's bad, Trump's a Nazi, Trump's a racist, Trump's a Russian stooge, Republicans bad, conservatives bad, they're all 10-toothed rubes, they're unintelligent, they're all racist. It's almost every program. Even if you get the odd Hollywood movie that isn't throwing that in your face, the actors behind it are when they're off screen, which is fine. I've learned to separate it. But you don't think that matters? And I have people say, who cares what a bunch of people in Hollywood say? Let me ask you this. Do you think people like corporations that spend large amounts of money, by and large, know how to make money? Yeah, most of them do. I think that most of us could say that fairly. Why do you think it is that so many large corporations pay incredible amounts of money for celebrity endorsements? If no one cares what celebrities say, why are they paying for these endorsements? They just throwing money in the wind? Because it works. It might not work for you, but we're not the target demographic. Young people, people that aren't necessarily, really researching politics or philosophy. And they buy into this. That's why they hate Kanye West, by the way. They have to have just like the mainstream media, they have to have a total monopoly. If they don't, then they're worried, it'll get out how corrupt it is. So you can't have someone like Kanye. Oh, that's terrible. But that's what's going on there. So, Silicon Valley, do I even need to talk about that? Twitter, just today? Censored a clip that Donald Trump retweeted of Joe Biden mumbling about, you got to reelect, well, you can't reelect me, you can only reelect Trump. Now, did anyone in their right mind believe that Joe Biden just officially endorsed Donald Trump? No. The point was the guy's losing his mental faculties. That's what everyone was saying about it. But when Trump retweeted that, they said it was edited out of context and therefore was removed from Twitter. Meanwhile, the entire mainstream media that has platforms on Twitter claimed over and over and over again after Charlottesville that Trump said some white supremacists were okay. He never said that, as I proved 100 times over on this show. So how are we're just selectively allowing Twitter to do that. YouTube? All my videos are demonetized as soon as I put them out. Am I saying anything threatening? I spend half my show some nights talking about the need to have nonviolence. The need to be civil, to show people we disagree with. That we are people of good character, that we're willing to listen to people on the other side. What is it exactly that I'm a threat to? But I'm demonetized. I lose subscribers every day, inexplicably. I'm not promoted. I have people tell me all the time, like, oh, you went live, you put a video up, I didn't see it in my feed. And I'm just one small fry. What do you think's happening all over the place? Again, Professor Robert Epstein, no relation to your boy, came out and said that Google has the potential to switch 17 million votes in 2020. That's how powerful Google is. Just by manipulating search engines, manipulating content on YouTube, etc. Where are the Republicans? Half of them don't know what YouTube is. Why aren't they on the offense? Why aren't we getting involved in culture? You want to know? Look, I talk to Trump people, and I'm going to be continuing talking to them. And I'm going to be doing stuff officially on my channel to try to help Trump's campaign in coalition with them. Let me say real clear, it will not, I repeat, it will not, I will never sacrifice my integrity for something I don't believe. Everything I say on here will be things that I can believe. Now, am I going to, while I'm doing a video for them, highlight the things about Trump I don't like? No. But I'll still be criticizing Trump on my channel. You'll see it. And despite that, I can tell you honestly, in the most authentic way possible, one, there will never be a perfect president unless it's me. And by that I mean, not that I'd actually be perfect, but no one's ever going to agree with me except me on everything. And secondly, Trump is the best president of my lifetime, and probably many years before that. So I wholeheartedly support Trump, despite the fact I'm going to criticize every single one. I wanted Ron Paul. I would have criticized things Ron Paul did. So I will be working with Trump's team to get stuff out like that. But what is the rest of the Republicans? There's some decent ones. But where are they? One of the things that I'm trying to tell the Trump team, how do we get demographics that traditionally don't vote for Republicans? Well, Trump has a unique ability to access them. And one of the things Trump's team talks about that's very good is how, in my area, how his policies have really helped the economy in my area. But I think that there's more to Trump. And that is the idea that there's something culturally about him. It's his demeanor. It's the way he acts. Are there a lot of bad things that you could say about Trump's decorum? Of course. And I don't particularly like everything that he's ever tweeted. But the good far outweighs the bad. And the good is this. I can't tell you how many Americans, normal Americans that I've met that have said something to me like this. I never voted once in my life. I'm 45 years old, never voted. The first politician that ever made me want to go out there and vote was Donald Trump. The first politician that ever made me want to get involved in politics was Donald Trump. Do you know why they say that? Most of them it's not because I thought his tariffs on China were a great idea. I was really against NAFTA, so I was on him with that. Do you think it has to do with his policy positions? Maybe. But you know what the number one answer when you ask people, you know what it is? I finally felt like there was someone that would fight for me. Just a regular Joe. And that's absolutely right. That is exactly what Trump did. And his policies stem from that. His policies on China, tired of the average American getting screwed. His wanting the wall, tired of illegal immigrants screwing over the average American. And the wealthy people benefiting off that cheap labor to do so. Tired of people running down the United States. That's what Make America Great Again was about. Tired of people, even our elected officials, all of the people in our culture that control the power of culture and the narrative, denigrating the United States, denigrating normal Americans. Trump was tired of it, and he hit a vein because other people were tired of it. So we're really going to sit around and parse, well, I didn't like Trump's ad. I don't like the way Trump talks sometimes. So what? If Trump didn't talk like that, then he wouldn't have been elected, and then millions of people that got involved would have never gotten involved. That's what it means to go on offense. Stop apologizing and say, no, it's good that he did that. Yes, there could be negatives. Everything has pros and cons. But Trump, I believe in my heart still, genuinely cares about normal Americans. You could say maybe each of his policies haven't been the most beneficial towards him. Fair enough, we could talk about that. But compare him to someone like Bernie Sanders. You think Bernie loves this country? You think Bernie gives two hoots about the average worker? He's busy trying to figure out how to make everyone unemployed so they could just collect government money. You think Joe Biden cares? He calls his own supporters dog-faced pony soldiers when they disagree with him. So you think he cares about regular everyday Americans in flyover country? So we need to be reaching out culturally. What is it about culturally that Trump tapped into? Because that's not policies. That's something culturally. And we need to be focusing on that. Having big personalities. Being truly genuine. Being an authentic person. Here's something I'd say, right? Let's say we're trying to reach out to young people. A demographic that's particularly, not only Democrat, now becoming socialist. How can we reach out to them? Well, here's two quick things I got. Number one, who do you think's going to pay for all the socialist policies? You think Bernie Sanders is going to be around when the debt comes due? Of course not. It's going to be you in 15 to 20 years. Let's take Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All proposal. Now, his own numbers say if you make more than $26,000 a year, your taxes will go up. That's his own numbers. So, if you're right out of college and you already owe like a bunch of debts and you're having trouble finding a job, but you're basically making the minimum or you're just got a small job and you're making $28,000, $29,000 a year, that's a lot of people. Now, if you're young, you're probably not using healthcare all that often. Well, guess what? Tough luck. You're paying more. Does that sound like a good deal for you? Doesn't sound good to me. And when we run up the national debt, trillions of dollars, some estimates $100 trillion in 10 years. That's how much all Bernie's plans would cost. Where are we going to get this money? Who's going to pay it? Young people. That's who's going to pay it. The second thing we should be reaching out to young people with, and this is the cultural aspect of it. You look right now. Now, I know I sound like I'm heated, and I am, but I think everyone that follows me on here can say that I'm a person who loves having fun. I have a great life. I'm forgiving. I love comedy. Look at us as a whole versus the other side. Look at the establishment Democrats. Do those look like happy people to you? The people at the women's rally, the people at the anti-Trump marches screaming at this guy, those look like happy people to you? Your college professors that are defending Antifa, they look happy to you? Antifa, they look like happy people? Which side is the side that says, go ahead, have fun, tell jokes, we don't care, we're not going to punish you, and if you step over the line once, we'll say, no big deal, everyone makes mistakes. Versus, you can't laugh, you can't joke about anything, we're going to go back through your yearbook, even 40 years from now, if you say something we disagree with, we're going to go through your life with a fine-tooth comb and find anything we can to ruin your life. If you say anything that we think's offensive, we'll call your employer, we'll get you fired. That resonates with young people. I don't know if you know this, I'm borderline not young anymore. I'm 35, so I think I officially cannot call myself young anymore. But I remember being young, and one of the things I like to do is have fun, and I said dumb things, and I did dumb things, and etc. Which side's more likely to say, when Rob was 18, he told a bad joke one night he was out at a party, so that's it. Now, granted, remember, though, it only works that way if you don't toe the line with them. Ralph Northam saw, I wore blackface. I'm sorry. You can have total control over me now. What do you want me to do? Guns? Yeah, I'll get rid of guns. Abortions, abort babies even after they're born? Yep, I'm for all that. So that's what we see. But we have to start fighting back culturally. We do. We have to go on the offense. We have to understand that politics is downstream of culture. Don't pretend, always be, and this is true outside of politics as well, always be authentic. Just be yourself. What you can show by your words and your actions of being yourself, we can have fun. We could, maybe you're a painter and you're out there, right? You don't have to say, I'm painting for Trump, but just let it be known. Hey, we don't all have to have the same ideology. We could be entertaining. We could be an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley and don't have to be establishment left-wing. We could be in academics and not have to be an establishment left-winger. So that's what I have on that. Now, how did I get on this topic? Well, because we were talking about Doug being harassed and people stealing. Again, don't do that, one, obviously. And second, where do we see the bulk of that occurring? Where is cancel culture coming from? Where is the culture that says by any means necessary? It's that group I just told you about, the establishment and the left. Remember, Maxine Waters said, chase Republicans out of restaurants. Yes. We've had many academics. We've had many people in the media say, yes, this is what you should do. Remember Vox Day? That wanted Steven Crowder removed from Twitter? Remember him? That said, throw milkshakes on Republicans. We should make them fearful to organize in public. You remember that? And then Andy No got a milkshake with cement thrown on him. Remember? Oh, he's still on Twitter? Yep. Because that violence is okay. What did I say over and over? There was this whole conversation. I saw it in the Telegraph. I did a complete video about this. The Telegraph, one of the bigger news sources in the UK. Is it okay to punch a Nazi? Yeah. I said no. Why would I say no? Aren't Nazis bad people? Here's why no. Because you don't have the right to use violence unless it's in direct self-defense. And as soon as you justify, well, it's okay to use preemptive violence because of X, the next thing you do is say, oh, and that group is X. So now everyone's a Nazi. It's okay to punch Republicans, they're Nazis. Trump supporters, Nazis. And we already said it's okay to punch Nazis. You remember when you had AOC and all these people saying that ICE agents were Nazis and ICE facilities were concentration camps? You remember that? And then you had some lunatic go in with a gun and with Molotov cocktails and try to burn down an ICE facility? That was predictable. See, the establishment Democrats know that they're full of it. They know Trump's not a Nazi, and Trump supporters aren't Nazis. But you know who doesn't know that? Their audience. Not all of them, anyways. Yes, most level-headed people could say, okay, I know, I'm not going to go firebomb an ICE detention facility. But when you tell a group of people enough, you're fighting Hitler, the people that disagree with you are Nazis and Hitler, they're going to take action. And so some misguided reject apparently hacks Doug Ducote's email because Doug's got 170,000 followers or something like that. He's reaching people. Now, I haven't gone through that. I got 1,600 followers. Because you people don't support me enough. No, I'm just joking. It's the Russians. We know that. But that's predictably what happens. And they're cool with it. By the way, the establishment Democrats are cool with it. Until it turns on them. Then all of a sudden it's, Bernie needs to rein his people in. Remember that? So that's what's going on with that. And I feel really bad for Doug. And look, it's easy to say, Doug's a veteran. Doug looks like a tough guy. But you know what? He's got a family like everyone else. You don't want to be dealing with that crap. You don't know what these lunatics are capable of. And yes, before someone says it, are there people like this that could come from the right? Yes. But I think that maybe it's because I'm biased, because I'm conservative. But I think that it is absolutely clear that one, the majority of this behavior comes from the cancel culture left. And second, that when it happens on the right, people universally on the right denounce it. But there's a nod and a wink a lot of times. And sometimes even an outright applause when people on the left do it, directed towards people on the right. What do I say about Antifa all the time? Yes, having thugs like that or mobs on campuses that are similar to Antifa, that's a really bad thing. And inevitably, the worst case scenario will happen. But almost worse than that is the fact that there are people with power in the mainstream media, in academia, in Silicon Valley, in Congress, that back them up. That's what makes Antifa powerful. All we hear is about the dangers of white supremacy. Oh, white supremacy. If you take a group like the KKK, they are laughed out of everywhere they go. If you're a politician or a professor or someone in Silicon Valley and you're connected to the KKK, you will be out of a job immediately. But if you're connected to Antifa, if you think all white people are evil, if you say kill white people, no problem. Now, which one of those groups have more power? They can't win in the marketplace of ideas. It's why the first thing they're going after is free speech. It's why the second thing they're going after is your right to defend yourself. It's why the Founding Fathers, by the way, put those 1 and 2. Because they realized the importance of it. We can't debate you, so we'll silence you. And if we can't silence you, then we'll come after you physically. That's why we need to go on the offense. Stop self-censoring. Stop saying, oh, I'm not a racist, I'm not a racist. I know in my heart I'm not a racist, so I'm not going to dignify that accusation. And if you're making that accusation, it's probably because you have a bigotry of low expectations and think we need to treat certain races with kids' gloves or like they're children. I think that's racist. I think you're a scumbag if you look at people and say, well, because of their skin color, we can't treat them like normal adults. That's garbage. And I'm tired of people that agree with me being apologetic and trying to walk on eggshells. Screw that. Those days are done. That's what I mean about going on the offense. I mean this about going on the offense. I'm sick and tired of us celebrating it as a victory when someone connected to Trump only gets 3 years in prison for the same crime that we know that all the heads of the intel community were doing, lying to Congress. It's time to investigate them. It's time to lock them up. If you're... I say this all the time. Yes, you're right to call out Schumer and Pelosi and AOC. Yes, of course. But what is your Republican representative doing? Are they out there on the offense? Are they fighting the good fight? Or are they just voting, oh no, no impeachment. Anyways, back to my day job. Why is it that someone like me, that, working 80 hours a week, that has no connections politically whatsoever, why am I doing a better job going on offense for conservative cause than the people that we actually elect to be our voices? And you need to remember that when it comes time to vote. I'm not saying vote for these crazy Democrats over them. Support someone that's primarying them. Call them every day and say, what are you doing? Not all of them are doing a terrible job, but come on. If we just hold the left accountable, then we assume, everyone on the right's great. That's not the case. And don't be mistaken. There are corrupt people in the Republican Party. Mitt Romney, Jeff Flake, John McCain. They got voted in. I hear people say this all the time. Rob, when you talk about having left-wing friends, how can you justify having a left-wing friend when they vote for people like Nancy Pelosi? I don't know. How can I justify having a right-wing friend when they voted for Mitt Romney? You know how much crap I got from Republicans when I said I wouldn't support Romney in 2012 after they screwed Ron Paul out of the election? How's that looking now? Supporting Romney. Good choice, right? And we should point to that corruption to show that there are things that could ally us on people all across the political spectrum. We shouldn't just say, you're a Democrat, get out of here, I don't want to hear from you. We say, hey, there are things we could agree on. That's one of the things I liked at the panel today. I got to check out this video. They said Doug Ducote debated these two Bernie bros and they came to an agreement on some things. So, just real quick, someone wants to know what I think of the Iraq war. It was terrible. It was corrupt. One of my biggest things, if you watch this channel, is I'm against these oligarchical regime change wars, such as Iraq, such as what's still being attempted in Syria, such as what happened in Libya, such as what happened in Iran when we overthrew the Shah way back in the day, such as what happened in Cuba when we installed Castro, such as what happened in Afghanistan when, the Russians were telling us, go watch the movie Rambo 3, right? Rambo 3 is about, Rambo goes in and he meets these noble, farmers in Afghanistan, and they sit him down and they say, for thousands of years, people have tried to, I don't know what kind of accent this is, not doing good. I'll just skip the accent. But thousands of years, people have tried to invade Afghanistan, and us, the noble people, we've repelled each invader. That's the Mujahideen. That's Al-Qaeda. The guy that Rambo's talking to is basically Osama bin Laden. That's sort of propaganda that we were putting out. But we were financing that. We were financing that proxy war, financing Al-Qaeda, financing the Taliban. I'm against all that crap. And I think Trump's got feelings to be against it. No. When he bombed Syria, we should hold him to account to that. All right. Topic number 3. Number 3. How did they put it? Are we happy with our choices? Particularly in the Democratic Party for president. I'm messing up what little hair I have left here. No. But should you be, even if you're a Democrat? I say this to my friends all the time. Let's say you don't like Trump for whatever reason. Fair enough. No matter how much, let me just say this quickly. No matter how much you support Trump, understand there can be legitimate reasons to not want to vote for him. Maybe you just disagree in policy. Maybe you're working in an industry right now that was really crippled by Trump's tariffs against China. Now, I think ultimately those tariffs were the right idea for the greatest good in the country, but I could see if I was in an industry and I lost my job because of the tariffs. Okay, I don't want to vote for Trump. I get that. Maybe you're someone who's, really thinks adultery, someone who's an adulterer is someone you can't support. Okay. Maybe you're someone who doesn't like the way Trump talks. Man, I think that's not a good reason, but fair enough. I mean, there could be reasons. So if you're one of those people that's like, okay, well, I'm not going to vote for Trump, how are you not disgusted by what you see in the... This is really the best that one of our political parties had to offer? I mean, it's incredible. You have an enfeebled old man who's literally suffering from dementia. Literally. Who calls his own supporters dog-faced pony soldiers, who gets his wife mixed up with his sister, can't remember simple phrases from the Constitution or the Declaration, can't even remember his own name. Did you see that, Gav? Oh, Biden-Bama, he called himself. Oh, my goodness. or a socialist / perhaps communist. That's the best we have to offer. Who, by the way, just had a heart attack himself. I mean, you can't be pleased with this. You just can't be. It's like the Democrats were trying to resurrect please, can we have someone who appears moderate? They couldn't get him. Bloomberg? Are you kidding me? Now they have Tulsi. I'll get to Tulsi later. But yeah, they're screwing her over. But Sarah's right to point out she's technically still running. I mean, it's mind-blowing to me. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about how terrible Bernie is. You've heard me do it a lot. I will be doing it a lot in the future. But for tonight's video, I won't be doing it so much. Biden, who at this point's the front runner, I've said it, he's an empty suit. That's what they want. They want someone they can totally control. They just need Biden to keep it together long enough to put him up there and then let the corrupt establishment try to steal the election from Trump. That's all they need. They need someone. Now, I'm going to make a gross oversimplification, and I'm sure this will be pointed out that I have no proof for this, which I don't. I'm just pulling numbers out of my butt to make a point here. But it's like Biden just needs to come within 20% of actually beating Trump, and then he'll win because that's how much the corruption can cover for. Can't cover 100%. Like, if no one votes for Biden, even if they're as corrupt as they possibly can be, they can't get 0 people to look like 40 million. But they can get 30 million to look like 40 million. So they're just like, come on, Biden. Stop calling people dog-faced pony soldiers. Stop sniffing little girls' hair. Come on, Biden. You can do it. Cheering them to the end. Woo! Go Biden. Unreal. It's unreal. Look, I've said all along that I think that the plan is, and you heard me say this on the panel, to bring someone in, whether it be as vice president, or to bring someone in because of a broker convention, or to leave him get out of the convention and then say, well, he's having health issues, so now we need to appoint someone new. I still think that's a possibility. Is it going to be Michelle or Hillary, someone else? I don't know. But it's certainly a possibility. And the point I made on the panel, which is a true point, is, look, our system's so perverse now. Take out your favorite team. Take out Republicans and Democrats. The system's so perverse now that we have this thing called the internet, that we could literally look up anything you've done in your entire life. That the best day you'll have as a politician is your first day. It's almost always going to be the more people learn about you, the more they dislike you. And so in a weird, perverse way, if you could wait to announce your nominee until the very last minute, that would be beneficial. It's almost like there are more people voting against a candidate than for him. That's certainly true of the Democrats. The majority of people will be casting a vote against Donald Trump. Who that person is will be almost irrelevant in the Democratic Party. So the less time there is to get negatives on that person, great. They would literally, as I've said, just nominate an empty suit. They would put it on stage and be like, yeah, the suit. Oh, what's the suit's policies? Trump's bad. Free stuff for everyone and Trump's bad. Good enough for us. Now, when that suit was manufactured, during that suit's college days, did it say anything wrong? Nah, it's just a suit. It's never done anything. Sounds good. Don't worry, we run the show in the establishment. We'll just put the suit up, we'll get a handsome mannequin to put the suit around. It'll be great. So we'll see what happens. They might stick it out with Biden. Which just, and again, one of the things I said, yes, it is disturbing that you have Bernie versus Biden. That's disturbing. But to me, the real story is the power of the establishment. It basically took them 3 days. Once Buttigieg and Steyer and Klobuchar dropped out, the establishment took 3 days to be like, okay, time to stop messing around. We're getting behind Biden. And they were able to take a man who sniffs little girls' hair and doesn't remember his own name and propel him to the front runner. Yes, it's funny, but it's also scary. It really is. Now, if you're a Bernie supporter, you're like, wow, this is incredibly corrupt. Wow, that's terrible. Welcome to the world of being a conservative, where we've dealt with this for 30 plus years. We deal with it in every institution. academia, Hollywood, Silicon Valley, the mainstream media, politics. The game's always rigged against us. Sucks, doesn't it? You could join us in saying, can we just stop the rigging of the game? You could join us in that. But instead, you'll vote for the very people that rigged it again against your guy. That's what you'll probably do. And I'm just saying, I'm still your friend. I'll still hang out with you. But how many times are you going to shoot yourself in the foot before you realize, geez, maybe the best thing I could do is vote for the other guy and then hopefully end this corruption. And then we can start from scratch and I can actually vote for someone knowing that the system's not rigged against me. I don't know, just my advice. But that's what we see happening. So, that's our choice. You got Biden versus Bernie. We'll see what comes of it. I'm going to be doing more stuff on each of the candidates specifically. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, it's worth talking about, and I hit on this a little. Sarah's right to not only point out Tulsi Gabbard, but let me be honest. It might sound like I have a little anger in my voice when I talk about Tulsi Gabbard. And I do. Because I'm the type of person that has more anger for people that I fell sucker for than people that I knew were crap all along. And I was a Tulsi supporter. I didn't like a lot of our domestic stuff. She flirts around with identity politics and talking about reparation and the patriarchy and whiteness, and I hate all that crap. But on one of the most important issues, I was staunchly for her. And that was the idea of, like I was talking about earlier, these corrupt foreign wars. I was for her. I thought that she, even if I disagreed with much of her domestic agenda, seemed like someone who would be brave and fight the intel communities and the establishment. She was right on Syria. Go look at the buried OPCW report that shows that was a garbage false flag, that Assad never gassed his own people, as I said immediately, because he had no incentive to do so. She was right on that. Now, Tulsi, by all accounts, should be looking at Trump as someone who's been skeptical of these foreign regime change wars. I don't mind if she criticized Trump when she, if he was buddy up to Saudi Arabia or if he bombed Syria. But she should understand the mechanism that gets us into these wars in the intel community were the same group that was corruptly going after Trump. That she should have known that. And she could have came out, as I said at the time, this is how Tulsi could have ran as a Democrat and done that. I don't like Trump. I think he's a disaster. I think he's a terrible person. I don't like his policies. But let's not kid ourselves. This Russia garbage against him is crap. It's the intel agencies trying to bring down a man they don't like, and I won't stand for it, even if I don't agree with his policies. That would have been tremendous. She would not have got the Democrat nomination with that. But if the Democratic Party implodes in 2020, she would have been one of the only people, just like, you remember the Iraq War? Why is people like Bernie and even Obama, why were they so successful? They were able to say, we didn't vote for it. Everyone else in the Democratic Party voted for it, but not us. That's still an albatross around Biden's neck. Tulsi would have positioned herself to be the one person that didn't look like everyone else in the Democratic Party. And so if there was a rebirth of the Democratic Party, she would have stood to have gained the most from it. Even if that would have been the best strategic move for her. But instead, she decided to pander to the Democratic Party establishment. How'd that do for you, Tulsi? Oh, what's that? They just changed the debate rules to keep you off the stage? Nice thinking, Tulsi. Way to sell out any little bit of integrity you had. Good job. It really benefited you, didn't it, Tulsi? And then her smug supporters. She didn't vote for the impeachment. She voted present on the impeachment. Well, sorry, that's not enough. Let's go through the timeline, shall we? And it's as important to do because a lot of Trump supporters even were like, oh, Tulsi, she's someone of integrity. She voted president. No, she's not. She towed the establishment Democrat intel agency line right up until the point that it was obvious she wasn't going to get the nomination, and then she flipped when she thought it could benefit her politically. That makes her a hypocrite scumbag. When the chips are down, when your mouth actually matters, when you can actually sacrifice something to do the right thing, that's when doing the right thing matters. I don't care if when it didn't harm you, you spoke up. That's garbage. So let's just go through a little timeline here with the impeachment, okay? Tulsi reads the transcript from Ukrainian President Zelensky and Trump. She reads the transcript. She publicly comes out and says, I see nothing in that transcript that warrants an impeachment investigation. She is then browbeat by the Democratic media for 2 days, by the intel community people. What'd she do 2 days later? I changed my mind. Now I do think there's enough in the transcript for an impeachment investigation. Boy, there's that strong leader that's going to stand up to the intel community you're looking up for, huh? Good job, Tulsi. Oh, what's that? Well, how'd she do on Kavanaugh? Well, you remember about a year after the whole Kavanaugh hoax, where they called him a gang rapist and all this crap with no evidence whatsoever and said that he's guilty until proven innocent? Well, it turns out this person writing for a newspaper, or that was being interviewed by a newspaper, who was someone that went against Kavanaugh in important court decisions earlier in their career, were on the opposite sides of cases. He claimed that one time he heard that there was a college party where Kavanaugh had exposed himself or for some reason had his pants down, and then someone else grabbed his junk and shoved it at a woman. Now, you might think, okay, then Kavanaugh was sexually assaulted. Someone grabbed his privates without consent. No. See, Kavanaugh's a man and, he was appointed by Trump, so even when someone assaults him, that's still supposedly him doing something bad? Then, of course, the woman said, oh, that never happened. I don't want involved in this. But still, that story was ran, and a bunch of people said, it's time to investigate Kavanaugh. You want to know who one of the most vocal voices were on that? Tulsi Gabbard. Yep. Sounds like someone who's going to stand up to the establishment, doesn't it? Now, what makes this incredibly heinous is, at the same time that all this Russia crap and these media and propaganda smears are going against Trump and Kavanaugh, all of a sudden, because Tulsi's done things like meet with Assad, people like Hillary Clinton and the establishment Democratic Party come out and say, we think that Tulsi might be a Russian too. And what's Tulsi say? How dare you? How dare you criticize? No, I'm Tulsi Gabbard. I say we need to investigate other people for connections to Russia, but how dare you do it to me? And people say, well, she voted president, so she must have had a change of heart. No, she didn't. Here's how Tulsi could not be a hypocrite. If she goes on Capitol Hill tomorrow and she says, well, I did meet with Assad, and I heard through people like Hillary Clinton and her possible connections in the intel agents that I could possibly be a Russian asset, so I demand an impeachment investigation into myself, but I'll vote present on it. That would be fair. That would be non-hypocritical. Oh, but that's weird. Tulsi's not only not calling for an impeachment investigation of herself, like she called for Trump, but she's saying the people that even make the accusation are terrible people that are slandering her. So yes, when people say, oh, but Tulsi, she's against these regime change wars and she did this and this. Maybe. It's just like Bernie Sanders. That was one of the things people said about Bernie that I like. Well, he's against all these crazy wars. Okay, well, the one time Bernie had the chance to put his money where his mouth was, when Trump was like, we should pull out of Syria, Bernie called it the worst foreign policy decision he's ever seen. That's right, Bernie wants us to stay in perpetual war. A man whose entire career has been about, we need to get out of these disastrous foreign regime change wars. We need breadlines and the 1% for everyone. That guy, he's going to pay for everything by ending the military-industrial complex, but the one time that he actually matters what he says, nope, Trump shouldn't try to pull out. I don't know what happened with the Tulsi Hillary slander suit. Who knows? Which good for Tulsi for filing that. And again, here's the problem with having integrity, like I try to have. Yes, it's absurd that Tulsi was slandered by Hillary. I support her in that. Yes, it's absurd that they changed the rules again to keep her off the debate stage. I don't like her, and my anger towards her is because I was duped by her. Because I actually, until this year, thought that she might be someone who would stand up to the intel community. But she's not. So that's where my anger comes from. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. Because I see a lot of Trump supporters or conservatives or just anti-establishment people, even on the left, saying, oh, Tulsi's good stuff. Yeah, not so much. Now, what does this say about the Democratic Party? I've watched Elizabeth Warren supporters on Twitter all week go off about, oh, sexism, that's why Elizabeth, oh, sexism. Are you kidding me? Who's sexist? The Democratic primary voters? Is that what you're saying? Or you said, well, she didn't get enough coverage. Ridiculous. The New York Times endorsed her. She was propped up as a frontrunner for months. Heck, even CNN, what was it, MSNBC? Whatever network did that debate. It was CNN. They toed the lie that Bernie said women couldn't win. And they filmed Warren going up and talked about how great Warren was and brought on body language experts to say, yes, Bernie was lying. Warren's telling the truth. Bernie did say a woman couldn't win. The media did all of that for Elizabeth Warren, and she still fell short because she's terrible. She's one of the most inauthentic people you will ever see. And that made people despise her, rightfully so. Not because she's a woman. But if that's your argument, how are the very same people making that argument in the Democratic Party the same people that are keep changing the rules to keep the only remaining woman off the stage? How is the same party that complains about the Electoral College, which is an excellent thing, and says, no, we need to have some sort of popular vote? They are all in for superdelegates and changing the rules midstream to make sure that certain voices can't be heard. That's the party of diversity. Oh, if you don't like it, it's because you hate women. But we're going to keep we'll change the rules so the only woman left can't be on stage. So, the whole Tulsi situation, it is, it's worth talking about, it is. But all it does is prove their hypocrisy. So, that's kind of what went on the show today. A couple other things. Let me try to think back to some of the callers. We had a great caller that talked about the problem of illegal immigrants getting offices in the United States. Now, she was naming names. I can't verify any of those names were true, but I definitely think that that's something that goes on, whether it be an illegal immigrant getting a position of power or just someone who supports the illegal immigrants. And they're basically willfully going against the interest of the United States because they feel the United States is evil or something like that. Again, there's a far greater chance that our country's taken down from within by elected officials and people with power within this country that want to see the demise of the United States than it would occur from some military force outside of us. So that caller is absolutely right on that point. The last caller talked about, getting his parents called the FBI on him because he just said the Confederate statues shouldn't be removed. And they accused him of being a white supremacist, despite the fact he was adopted from Korea. It just kind of goes to show the insanity that we could have when things get out of hand. You're actually calling the FBI on your own son because he disagrees with you politically and he voted for Trump. But that's where we're at. And again, the point that, I think Sarah correctly makes that we need to focus on is, what would this mean for things like red flag laws? Use Twitter as the example. YouTube, Twitter, anyone could accuse you of anything. Well, then your account's suspended, or there's an investigation into your account. All the red flags law says is if someone credibly accuses you, you lose your Second Amendment right until they can sort it out. Now, are you willing to give up your rights based on any hyperbole or accusation against you? You don't even have to know who the accusation's from. It could just be some random person online. You willing to give up your fundamental rights that the forefathers fought so hard for? Over that? If they could take away your Second Amendment right, why can't they take away your First Amendment right for the same reason? They say, well, guns lead to violence. All violence starts with some sort of speech. So, potential Rob's dangerous speaking. Let's take away his right to speak until we investigate. Is that the society we want? So when you see people that say, well, it makes sense, red flag law makes sense, we don't want these lunatics having gun. We don't want the lunatics in Washington to have the power to take our rights away. That's the problem. I'm trying to think back at some of the other calls that maybe we had. There were a lot of calls about the idea of, Biden just being a filler and then because of his illness, someone else coming in. That could happen. I already talked about that today. And then, we had a couple callers on the coronavirus as well. Again, check out the first part of this podcast. I don't know. There's definitely shady things. Bill Gates connection was one of the callers. Yes, Bill Gates is now trying to sell testing kits. Bill Gates did have this plan that was online about global pandemics. I've heard that he was invested in some of the facilities where supposedly the COVID thing came from. But I'm not an expert on that stuff. But, all I know is they are willing to weaponize the fact that the fear that comes with a possible pandemic. So, but yeah, great show tonight. I hope you guys like this podcast. So I'll be doing more stuff coming up routinely. I'm also going to be working on the field, actually getting out and doing things. So hopefully, if anyone can, I've had some great donations recently, but I'm trying to get this microphone. It's like $260. That'll be with my cell phone, so I can take and do some interviews on the road and things like that. So, yeah, look forward to more stuff like that coming up. And I'm going to try to get back to doing more short-form videos as well. So, for all of you guys listening on the podcast, I'll be ending here. I'll stick around to the people on YouTube D Live and Facebook here just a couple minutes afterwards. But thank you so much, everyone. And as always, have a good one. All right, we got rid of those filthy podcast people. No, just kidding. Check out my podcast. You too could be a filthy podcast person. Yeah, I thought it went good. So what's the argument? What's going on here on the chat? We had someone talking about. I just caught a little of it, but are we talking about, immigration and how AC Nomad here? Let me see this. America's not a country if you aren't native. This is one of the dumbest arguments. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't be mean to you, AC Nomad. If you're not native, your ancestors were immigrants. Hate to break it to you. So if you are native, then your ancestors weren't immigrants. They were just magically born. The Native Americans were just magically born in Native America. They weren't immigrants to the land. Is that your argument? Do you know that the Native American tribes that were here when, for example, the Vikings got here or when Europeans got here? Do you think that those Native Americans never conquered people that came before them? You don't think that happened? You don't think that this tribe may have wiped out their neighboring tribe and then took their land? You don't think that stuff happened? Because it did. Because basically the history of humanity is a history of violence. It's a history of one group conquering another. And the idea that we can only look at the evils of it when it's of certain people of certain races is absurd. The more we go back and we look and we try to say, oh, this was bad, this group, the sins of this group, the sins of this country. Okay, why does it stop there? Why can't I look at the sins of the Cherokee or the sins of the Algonquin? Those sins don't matter? We have to pretend they lived without sin? That's what we're supposed to do? And you think that's treating those groups with respect? I don't. The idea that we have to have some sort of cultural shame is absurd. Now, does that mean that there were things that the United States was founded on that weren't bad? I mean, we had slavery. Yes. There were terrible treatments of Native American tribes. Yes. But the system that was set forth, the symbol of the United States, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, these documents set forth what would be the best foundational documents of a country still to this day. They outlined the idea of the individual mattering, of personal freedom and personal liberty. Were there terrible things that happened? Yes. But going back and focusing on them doesn't help anything. It just causes more division. It makes the ancestors of all the people involved either vilified or treated like children. Oh, AC Nomad. I'm sorry. And I'm not saying you're saying that, AC Nomad. I'm just talking argument that I've had recently. So I do apologize for that if you were having a specific conversation with someone. But that's my feelings on that. Yeah, other things worth talking about tonight. I felt like crap yesterday and I feel better today. Like, living in rural Pennsylvania, where I'm at, so I'm about an hour north of Pittsburgh. It's like snow, 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 snow. And then all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, you get a nice day, and it feels like, you would think it's the most beautiful day ever. That's how today was for me. Just everything's upbeat. Like, look at that. No snow on the ground. It's not even that wet. It's a reasonable temperature. I could wear a t-shirt without a coat. It's fantastic. So, yeah, I had a good day today. And I will be talking with some Trump campaign people tomorrow, so hopefully that goes well. Hopefully I have good things to report to you. But yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to be on the street. I apologize if I didn't put out as much content as usual this weekend, but I had family stuff. That'll happen. But yeah, that's that's kind of what's been going on with me. Does anyone have any specific topics they want to talk about for a little while before I leave? As far as my channel, thank you to everyone that's donating. I saw Kenneth was on here. He had a great donation for me the other day. So I really do appreciate all of your financial donations. It is something that's important to me. I hate to grovel for money, but I have to start doing it because I'm broke as a joke. And, I'm trying to branch out there. And it really does look like I'm going to be on the street soon. It looks like that I'm going to be in charge of... Okay, I shouldn't say that. I will be part of and possibly have a big role in a lot of events coming out in my local area coming up here with trying to get Trump reelected. And I'm trying to say, hey, why not live stream it while I'm there? Even though I'd be part of Trump's campaign, I think it'd be a great idea. And one of the things about me is I trust me to always sound good no matter what. Not to sound arrogant, but I'm not going to make a fool of myself, I don't think. Even if people disagree with me, I'll be like, sure, I can disagree with you, so, So, so financial donations are appreciated. If you check out link in my description, you can find PayPal, you can find Patreon. You can give a super chat if you're on YouTube, or if you can give me lemons. I had this thing. It's weird. Like, my wife could tell you about this. I come up with, like, a catchphrase or a joke that's not funny, and my wife's just like, And so then my way of dealing with it is for the next 10 years to repeat the joke until it either breaks her and she laughs, or it breaks her and she breaks me. One or the other. So she got this car, and it needed a new headlight. It's actually a really good car for the price. It's like $5,000, and it's been great for her. But it needed a new headlight like 2 weeks in, and I just kept screaming, "It's a lemon!" And now, on D Live, lemons are a good thing. So, I did. So, Preacher sent me this video on the Pope. I don't know when that video was from or what the context is, but it seems to be the Pope kissing the feet of Islamic gentlemen. I don't know what's going on with it, but definitely not a good look. And that's the Pope. He's a socialist. Sorry if you're Catholic, you got a bad one. Typical socialist, too. He's all about being for the people until that woman grabbed his hand and he... Okay, so if you guys really want to get in the weeds about coronavirus, I'll give you the real scoop, okay? Because I see Blase talking about wiping with leaves. Here is my non-political take on the coronavirus. So I've seen videos in Australia of women fighting over the last roll of toilet paper at a store. I've heard about people even in the States hoarding toilet paper. Now hear me out here. Is it time to culturally switch to the bidet? Are we ready? Is it time? When you find yourself in a fist fight at Walmart for the last roll of toilet paper, is it time to say, we do have running water technology. Oh, that's a great... Yeah, okay, all joking aside. So, Hell Odin makes a great point. I seem like a legit guy. I hope I seem like a legit guy. I think there's enough material of me talking spontaneously on here so you can kind of get an idea of who I am. But, let's say I start running for office. I got to get money from somewhere. Then I become beholden to those interests and what will happen with me. First off, you're right to have those concerns. Because let me tell you, Odin... who is another person that has those concerns, me. My two biggest fears in life are, one, to get Alzheimer's and lose my mind, because I've seen that happen to people I love. And the second thing is to become a sellout. So how do you stop that? It's impossible to win without taking money. It is. I tried. I know you guys might think I'm full of it. I ran this special election. The special election in entirety took like a month. I spent roughly $6,000 that I do not have on credit card debt and stuff like that. I'm still paying it back. I'm still way in the hole. Because I said I refuse to accept even one dime from anyone. I can't do it again. I cannot run in 2022 and not take money. Not only because I would lose, but because just the bare minimum stuff that I would need to do would bankrupt me. It just would. So you got to take money. But then what do? I'm trying my best on a daily level right now to prevent what will happen. So I listen to Jordan Peterson a lot, which he's not doing well health-wise, which is a shame, but And he said this, and it made sense to me when I was thinking about the Bible, which is just tell the truth. Just be yourself. I don't think that most politicians that are corrupt get in there and they say, I'm going to be a corrupt politician. Yeah. I think most of them probably say, yeah, I got some good ideas. I'm going to get involved. And then they make one little sacrifice. Well, hey, if I just switch my position on this, I get all this money. But that'll help me get the positions I want. Then they make another little sacrifice. Then they make another. And the next thing you know, you're there 20 years and you can't look at yourself in the mirror. You've sold out. So the best defense against that is don't make the sacrifices. Now, does that mean you can't make a mistake? Of course you can make a mistake. You could vote for a bill that you thought was going to do something good and that does bad. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about you willfully do something that you know is against your character. Once you do it once, you're setting foot on that path. Now, what can I do to buttress myself against that? Well, one of the things I have going for me that might be unique for me is I truly think that I'm not impressed by any politician as far as that it's going to be too big for me. In other words, I think a lot of people get to Washington, it's like, oh, look how impressive these people are. I will always think that the people I've seen, like my dad that works on cars or builds a house or, you know, that's a bartender or that's a truck driver, those people I respect more than they'll ever know. That's genuine. I'm not faking that. And so that allows me to remember where I came from. And so to be less likely starstruck, I guess. The other thing is I have great friends and families. My campaign manager is a Democrat. My wife was a Democrat until the other day. She switched to Republican. They'll tell me if I'm selling out. Now, as far as lobbyists, look, I talked to a congressperson who's in Congress right now. I won't say their name. And I asked them this question. I said, what do you do about lobbies? He's like, I'll take money from anyone. He's like, it's rainy day out, I'll take money from the umbrella lobby. I don't care. He's like, I'll just never, I'm up front with them. I'm like, I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote. You want to give me your money because you think I'm on board with you? Fine. He's like, and I know this person specifically got money from fracking interest and then voted against fracking interest. I looked it up. He told me to. This person did. And he's like, hey, if they want to pay me money, I was open with what my policies were. Their loss. I don't see the problem with that. If you're of strong enough character to resist temptation, if you say, hey, I'm going to stick to my gun. You want to donate to me? Fine. I'll take your money. And in that vein, I never understood this idea of, you know, Jeffrey Epstein gave money to so-and-so's campaign. So 12 years later, now they'll give it back. Why? It's like, okay. You know, oh, you can't take money, you know, from you find out that someone did something bad, so you're supposed to return them. Why? That guy's a racist that gave me money? Okay. I'm going to use his money, and I'm going to win, and I'm going to fight for the equalization of people and how racism's dumb. Great, I just used money from a racist to prove that we should judge people based on the content of their character. Their loss. Instead, I give the money back to the racist? What the heck sense does that make? Well, hell, one of the things I did, not only would I push for term limits, which will never get passed, but I would push for them, but I actually signed a promise that I would term limit myself, even if it never passed. I would only run 3 terms in the House and possibly 2 in Senate. That's still 18 years, and I doubt that I would ever run for the Senate. But that's the commitment I made. I think that's what I signed on the paper. That's what I believe. No more than 3 terms in the House. That's probably the only seat I would ever run for. You do 3 terms in the House, 2 in the Senate, that's 18 years. That's more than enough for any politician ever. If you want more, run for president. Right, and you're right. A short career, you can only compromise so often, and then you're out. When you have that constant influx of people, then it kind of stops corruption on its own. Oh, Lynn, thank you. I will check that out. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I have this friend named Chirby. He basically, everything he recommends me, he's someone I've been friends with years before I did this channel. He's donated microphones to me. He's donated all kinds of stuff. He's the one who edited my promo video you saw at the beginning of this and things like that. I usually just take his word. So he sent me this microphone that'll work with my iPhone. He's like, it comes with the editing software. It's incredible quality. This is the one you should get. It's $250. So, yeah, John, that's exactly why you return the Epstein money. So someone can't say you took Epstein money. But my answer would be like, yeah, I don't care. I didn't give it back to his crooked family. It's just virtue signaling, and I don't care to virtue signal. But you're right. Every single one of you are right to say, Rob might sell out. I might. I don't know. I hope I don't. But do I really think that every politician that's ever got in is like, oh, I'm going to sell out? I mean, I'm sure there are people that are like, I'm doing this for personal gain. But I'm not going to sit here and claim that I'm, uniquely a good person. I don't know. All I could do is hope that I surround myself with people, that will hold me to account, and that I hold myself to account every day, If I run and you're like, oh, here's Rob taking money from the fracking companies, well, look how I vote. Am I changing votes based on the money I got? I hope not. Oh, watching trains go. Yes, you're absolutely right. There is no system that is beyond corruption. Absolutely. There's no perfect. There will always be corruption in politics. There will always be corruption in our politics. Each individual will always have some level of corruption. None of us are infallible. It's just the truth. So the best you could do is to try to have integrity yourself. I think I have that. I hope I do. We'll see. But you're right to be concerned. Why would you put total faith in anyone? I'll be running in Pennsylvania in 2022. It's not going to be 2020. I have no idea what my district will be because I believe because of the census, Pennsylvania will lose a seat, which means that we're going to redistrict, which we just did. Right, Alan. I get it. If you're going to trade off, it better be for... I knew a guy's one of the nicest people I ever met. His job he got was he was a lobbyist for RV companies. And I'm like, how do you feel? He's like, well, I like RVs, and they're not the evilest company. But, he was against, like, CAFE standards, fuel standards for vehicles and stuff, because that's what the RV lobby was lobbying for. So, term limits in Congress could do all kinds of crazy stuff. Absolutely it could. So, but yeah, I'll be in Pennsylvania. But I do appreciate everyone. Now, let me make it quite clear to you. If you send me money right now, it is not going to any sort of campaign, period. That will be way later in 2021 before I would take campaign donations. And I have to come up with a way to make sure they're totally on the up and up. Because let's say some of you watching aren't from the United States, then you can't donate to my campaign. Any money you send to me now is strictly going for my YouTube channel. Not just YouTube, but internet content providing. The other thing is, there is a chance I won't run, which is another reason not to take money for that. Because if we get redistricted and whoever wins 2020 that ends up representing me in my district is doing an awesome job, then I won't run. I'll support that person. I don't think the people representing me right now are doing very well. That's why I'm going to run. Not because I want a job, but because I think I could do better. So, yeah, people get tired of hearing me yammer on about possibly running for office. Yeah, preacher, the number one way to solve corruption is to actually hold the corrupt accountable. Lock up Adam Schiff for his corruption in this coup against Trump. Give him 5 years in the clink. How about the same for anyone else like James Comey or Brennan or Clapper? Throw them in the clink for 5 years. No special treatment either. Gen Pop. Boom. Go. All of a sudden, I bet that corruption starts to clean up a little, huh? But when they can operate with impunity for 50 plus years, of course the corruption's going to be horrible. That's why I say all the time, I know people get on me, but I'm like, if Trump and his team do not throw these people in jail that committed these crimes, then none of it will matter. No, Joe, I pay attention to D-Live. What was said, Scarecrow? How dare I be accused? The truth is I don't pay attention to any of the chat most of the time. Let's see what you guys are saying. And the Fed. Yeah. If that's what you're talking about. Of course, and the Federal Reserve. Ron Paul was exactly right. People don't want to hear it, though, because it would lead to a recession, which we need, because we've spent more than we have. So there will have to be a recession. But yeah, the Federal Reserve is an abomination. Read the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, that talks about the creation of the Federal Reserve and the income tax. It was 1913, I believe, Christmas Eve, when it passed, when most of the people from Congress were home with their families. I see you, Scarecrow. Thank you for being on D-Live. And don't worry, I'll remember to give out the treasure chest of lemons here at the end. So if it's just you and Why Not on there, you'll be the big winners. That's what all these YouTube people miss out on, the reward of lemons. Yeah, and you're right, Preacher. I just get to rambling and then I lose the chat. I apologize for that. I mean, it started when they killed Kennedy. Maybe even before that. I mean, Hoover was operating before that. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913. They're directly responsible for the Great Depression. So, yeah. So, all right. I'll be wrapping up if no one has a different topic. I guess I got 14 minutes left. That'll hit me at an even 2 hours. Tomorrow during the day, I will probably not be doing a video. I got some training business to go on. So maybe tomorrow evening you'll see me do something. But what can I talk about for 14 minutes? How about... Yeah, I got a potential offer to work as a regional director for Trump's team. I don't think I'll be doing that. Not that I was guaranteed the job. Tom Wolfe, terrible. Hypocrite. I mean, the problem with the Pennsylvania Democrats in general, I remember, I'm such a nerd. I used to watch, I think it's like PCN, but it's like kind of an equivalent of C-SPAN except for state politics. And I remember back in the day, I actually at one point lost a job basically because I was an assistant debate coach at a state university and they didn't pass the state budget in 2008, 2009, so I lost a job over it. So I remember being interested and I tuned in. And the argument that was going on between the state Republicans versus the state Democrats were this. The state Republicans were saying, we will no longer vote, because the budget didn't get passed. They said, we're not going to vote for a budget until we know what the total dollar amount is. Once we know the total dollar amount, then we'll proceed to outline where we think the money should go. And the Democrats were literally making the argument it was immoral for the Republicans to do so. I'm not joking. This was the debate that was happening in Harrisburg on the state floor. Republicans saying, look, what's our budget? We got $10,000. Obviously, it's way more than that, but you see the point. We got $10,000. Fine. You tell us how much, then we'll tell you how much should be allocated to each thing. The Democrats were like, no, we won't tell you the budget. You decide how much should be allocated first, and then we'll tell you the budget. Tom Wolfe represents that idea. It's like, wait, what? You know? Talk about Russians. Yeah, I have 25 people watching right now. 2 on D-Live. Why? Russians! That's why. Of course, the Russians are keeping me down. Just like the Democrats. Terrible. It's terrible. Russians everywhere. Let's see. Popcorn meme. There's some fun memes on the D-Live as well. Oh, now there's 5 people on D-Live. Whew. Maybe I'll just go give my lemons out now on D-Live. How about that? D-Live lemons. People have to remind me almost every night, so this time I just know to give them. Alright. Here we go. Takes a while. Hey, you got a new follower too. Nice. Yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, please go over to D-Live and subscribe to me. Once I get to 200, which I'm up to 103, then I can actually start doing more on the platform. So, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Lynn. Yeah, if you don't watch me on there, that's fine. Putin sends John Jacobs a check to harass me in the chats here, in the Discord. Let me put a link up to my Discord as well. I'm really trying. I'm going to start doing stuff. A friend of mine, Milo, is one of my patrons, going to help me with this. And that's appointing people to different positions on Discord and things like that. Ah, crap. Where'd it go? I think this is the link. Probably not. 1 second. This frustrates me. One thing about Discord, it always wants to change my link for some reason. I think I've finally figured out how to make it the same one every time, but just give me a second here. Coming. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. There we go. Invite. Copy. Wow, that was a process. Yeah, DJ's my brother. I have 2 brothers. He's my youngest brother. Which I'll call you later this week to see if you want to come up this weekend. But if you do, we got like a 5-year-old birthday party to go to for a couple hours. Who won? Who won the lemons? I was so busy. Oh, there we go. Why Not's the big winner, followed by Ken Nicely, Scarecrow, and Slanty Chauffeur Bear. Congratulations. Milo. Like what my thoughts are on Milo? Is that what someone wants to know? Sure, I can talk about that. I like Milo. I think he's funny. I think he's a troll. But I don't mind that. He's not my style. I don't attack people like he does, but I understand why he would attack them. And he's also playing a caricature. Right? He understands that it's entertaining, and there's no problem with that. The thing that brought Milo down to me is absurd because we've heard Bill Maher say the exact same thing. Milo, as a gay person, is basically talking through the fact that he's admitting on Joe Rogan's show that he was sexually assaulted as a young man. He just didn't mind it. Can you imagine if someone would cancel someone, a woman who was on the left, if she said, sure, I slept with, when I was 13, I slept with an older man, but, I liked it. They'd say, my God, you're a victim. But instead, because it was Milo, they canceled him because he's on the right. They were just looking for anything. And that's the problem. Once you become a cultural figure on the right, they're looking for anything in your life to take you down. So, do I agree with Milo on everything? No. Do I think that Milo's hyperbolic and playing a character? Yeah, I do. But that's okay. I thought it was entertaining, and I thought he had a lot of good facts that went along with it. And when Milo wanted to be calmer, he could. Watch a lot of his early interviews he was doing on places like Sky News against feminists. And he didn't come off, he came off as snarky, but he didn't come off as flamboyant or as, outrageous as what he later became. So yeah, I didn't mind Milo. I still like Milo. I like Gavin McInnes too. I think Gavin McInnes is hilarious. Of the Proud Boys. Are there things to criticize about the Proud Boys? Yes. I think that individual Proud Boys, I've seen proof that they've gone with the intent of fighting. In fact, I've literally seen this video where Antifa types and Proud Boys met up and were shaking hands like, hey, let's go have a fight at such and such. And then they went and fought. That's stupid. But the ones that formed, and the idea of it was we're just going to make sure the conservatives aren't getting the crap beat out of them in places like Berkeley. I have no problem with that. None. And Gavin's hilarious. Is he always politically correct? No. I don't care. Neither's Milo. I don't care at all. Do I think that they're racist? No. Do I think that they're sexist? No. I think they are what Gavin calls them, which are American chauvinists. They think America's the best. Great, so do I. Now, I'm not as confrontational as them. But I don't care. I like that style. I understand that we all have different styles. And I'm sick and tired, again, of being on the defense. Oh, I'm not going to connect myself with them. Garbage. Same with Tommy Robinson. Has Tommy Robinson said things I disapprove of? Yes, he has. I specifically saw a clip one time where Tommy Robinson talked about how all Muslims are responsible for XYZ. That's not true. It's not. I personally know some good Muslims. But is Tommy Robinson more right than wrong? Yes. Is he taken back a lot of the things he said that I disagreed with? Yes. Did he have the right to be absolutely furious when you're talking about thousands of girls in his community for 3 decades being gang raped? Yes, he had the right to be upset. If that happened in your community, you might say something that was a little hyperbolic. Odin says, are these people puppets? Are they handed a script? Maybe. I didn't feel that way about Gavin. I didn't feel that way about Milo, but I could be wrong. But I like those people. Now, there are people on the right that I don't get down with, really. But I hate to judge people just because I hear someone call them a racist. Like, I don't know Nick Fuentes. People ask me about him all the time. I don't know him at all. I've seen a couple of clips where it looked like he was saying some racial stuff that I didn't care for. But I don't know the context, and it's literally been like 3 minutes of stuff I've seen about him. So I just don't know. What I do know is that people are maligned as racist or terrible or scumbags all the time, and it's not true. So you won't see me jump on that bandwagon. And by the way, I've done the same with people on the left. Which, was it Omar? When she was criticizing AIPAC said, it's all about the Benjamins? I said, I didn't think that was racism. I thought that was just criticizing money in politics, particularly AIPAC, which puts an awful lot in. I'm already in bed with the intelligence agency. My nefarious plan to spread propaganda to 35 of you. The FBI's on it this time. I don't know what Milo's new gig is. I would love to talk to him. I'll tell you one person I've reached out to, Scott Pressler. He goes by the name The Persistence on Twitter. He's this guy that goes into like San Francisco in the name of conservatives and cleans up the place. He's actually going to be doing a voter registration drive near me here in a week or two. And I'm really, really, really trying to get in contact with him and to go interview him and be part of that drive and live stream from there. I mean, theoretically, I could be in with the intel agents, but I'm not. And, I think if I wasn't me and I'm looking at me objectively and saying, how could I guess if this guy's like, deep undercover or something like that? I mean, I don't think that I have a professional sheen that would give that opinion. I think that I speak so much, so off the cuff, hours at a time, that if I was really being controlled by handlers, they wouldn't leave me just go off as much as I do so many times. I think that, like, even the fact you've seen me, like, playing stupid PlayStation games and stuff with my wife would go to speak to that. But then I might also say the fact that I'm saying all this stuff is further proof that I am part of the intel agencies. But I'm not, so I don't know. I get 5 rubles every time I say Russians. I wish I would reek of rubles. Lousy with them, but no. So, yeah, let's see. Did I miss anything? What do I think about Trans Reading Day? That's a softball, huh? Yeah, I stuck up for the LGBT rights, the right to get married. I did. My feeling is the government probably shouldn't have any place in sanctioning love. But if they're going to, then consenting adults should be allowed to get married. Period. That's how I feel. But that does not mean I support the trans movement. That does not... And again, I've given my thoughts a billion times on trans people. I think that it's basically a mental disorder. I know people with depression, bipolar, other mental disorders. I probably have some myself. I don't treat people ill because of, mental issues they may have at all. I could care less if my best friend would come out and be like, I'm trans. I'd be like, that's weird. Like, I don't know, I'm going dress shopping or anything, but cool, I'll still hang out. I don't care. I really don't care. If a specific individual said, can you call me she instead of he, I'd be like, okay. I might slip up once in a while, but I'm not, if that's what you want. But as a movement and this idea that I have to pretend all of this stuff is real, it's garbage. I'm not going to deny reality. There is a difference between men and women. You can't just say I'm one or the other. That you're not. You're just not. And it gets into crazy territory like athletic competitions and things like that. And then even more damaging, like trans reading days with children and stuff. That's sexualization of children. That's unacceptable. If you're heterosexual, homosexual, trans, I don't care. The sexualization of children is wrong. What are people selling to my political opponent? I get pesos from Cuba. See ya, Harmony. John Jacobs gonna clip out me saying I work for the intel agencies. Yeah. This comedian I like, Doug Stanhope. he used to talk a lot of like pseudo conspiracy stuff, and he's like, look, don't get the wrong impression though. He's like, if like the deep state would call me tomorrow and say, Mr. Stanhope, we'd like to come in and interview for a job making huge amounts of money. He's like, I'd put my best suit and tie on. What if my son came out to me as trans? So I don't have a son. If I did, I don't have any kids. If I did, so I only bring that up because it's hard to, until you have a kid, how can you really know, I guess. But my best answer would be, I would let my son know, no matter what choices he made with his sexuality, that I would support him. I would let him know that I thought that I would be very skeptical of any sort of body modification, such as surgeries, hormone adjustments, and things like that. I certainly would not allow any of that until they were 18 and out of the house. But as an adult, if they made the decision to go through with that, I would disagree with that, but it wouldn't stop me from loving them. And it wouldn't be something that I would constantly be harping on. How dare you do this? That's the best answer I could give. But while they're a kid, no way. There's no way. You think I'm virtual? That's what this background's about. This virtual background. I did get a haircut once. I need one. I need to trim this beard up. I gotta cut my hair now because I'm going bald, so I have to keep it short. The longer it grows, it's terrible. One year for Halloween, I went as Danny DeVito from Always Sunny. So I shaved my hair into the ridiculous horseshoe. And now that's... I've been cursed that that's how I'm going to end up. So, shave it all off, maybe. What's your best offer? Yeah, right, why not? If the deep state came calling, so... Alright, I've gone 2 hours. That's my promise to everyone. So, one final grovel for Buddy. If you donated tonight and I didn't see it, thank you. If you haven't donated tonight, well, then the Russians are winning. But no, any financial donations I really appreciate. As always, though, look, I know how it is. I would love to donate to a bunch of awesome content providers. I'm broke as a joke, so I'm not really donating. So if you can't donate, totally fine, totally get it. It does not matter. I'll still be doing my show, trust me. So I really mean this. I say it a lot, but I mean it. Each and every one of you, I'm really humbled that you decide to listen to me. I've grown a lot in the past 2-3 months. It's still a small channel. I don't care. If it was just one person I'm talking to, I'd be happy. I have you people to thank for, the growth. So thank you so much. Whether you agree or disagree with me, I love talking to you all. I love the people that, email me stuff, the people that are just funny or talk to me on the chat. Even if I don't get to the chat a lot, I really do appreciate it. I think you all are the best, and it really means a lot to me. So give the man lemons, says John. Lemons! So, no, I really appreciate it. And, if I ever make it to Congress, if, my channel gets huge or anything like that, I don't know what life has in store for me, but these are some of my best times. I come on here, I vent. If I'm having work problems or anything, I just feel like I can come on here and talk. And it does. It makes me feel a lot better. So, yeah, you people, you'll always be special to me, so thank you all so much. And maybe someday when I'm a big giant YouTuber with bajillions of followers, I'll say, yeah, that preacher guy, I think I remember him. He was one of those guys I stepped on to get where I'm going. No, I'm just kidding. I really do. I appreciate all of you. So, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to my mods. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you to anyone who shares my channel with anyone else. And thank you to even those that don't. You guys are still the best. And, yeah. I'll be heading off to bed then. I got a busy day at work tomorrow. So, you guys are the best. Thanks so much. Have a good one.